put him on his back. Thurston, right foot kick, down the ground, into the in goal almost. Hodgson cuts it off. Hodgson taken by Norton. He took him late. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside. Richards pursued. He pushes Johnson away.
Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 21st of March, 2024. You're back for another episode, and it's not March, it's May. Let's not pretend that. I'm in a beanie and jumper. What's wrong with me? It's Tuesday, the 21st of May. You're back for another episode of the Tiger Town podcast with your host, Zac over this end, Toby over the other end. Brought to you, as always, by Best On Ground Digital, bestongrounddigital.com. They will not steer you wrong. The digital marketing agency that looks after the little guys, anything digital marketing related, they're your fellas. And you're my fella, Toby. How you going, mate?
Good, mate. You could have left it in, March. We actually had a bit of promise then, so we could have left it at that. But hey, that's okay.
That's all right. Promise is a fool's errand. It's a long-term game.
Oh,
supporting the Tigers.
It's been 11 years, no, 12 years, no, 13 years? 13 years, sorry. Got to get that right. It's been 13 years. We've been in the long game for a while.
Well, how long is a piece of string? It could be 113 yet. We'll have to wait and see.
No, by the way it's going, wouldn't surprise me if it is.
Now, we obviously played the Dolphins, lost to the Dolphins on the weekend 24-12 to round out Magic Round. Sum up the game in a sentence for me, my friend.
Stupid footballers. That's it.
That's it.
All I need.
2 words.
2 words. Stupid footballers.
Yeah.
I said it in the chat.
I'll allow you to expand on that a wee little bit.
A little bit. Well, honestly, stupidity is contagious, and it seems like it has spread across the team. Stupid decisions, stupid actions, stupid plays. It looked like a comedy of errors the whole time. And it wasn't just handling errors. Well, actually, I think we completed quite well, to be honest. I think if the Dolphins...
Yeah, we completed at 90.
Yeah, if the Dolphins had completed it at what we were completing at, they probably would have beat us by 50. So they did us a favour there by having a poor completion rate. But yeah, it was... that's all I can say, is a team of stupid footballers. Not stupid people, not saying that. Stupid footballers.
So that once those people cross the white line, they lose a couple of pegs on the cognitive scale, do they?
I feel like it. Yeah, it definitely.
The IQ is clearly lacking across the board.
Well,
perfect
example. Perfect example is Justin Olam. Did everyone that's listening know that he actually has? Is it a master's or just a degree in physics?
I think it's masters. I think he's got a master's in
physics.
Might be a bachelor's. I'm not sure.
So he's a very, very, very smart man to achieve that, but he made some stupid decisions.
Did he?
Because he was being a stupid footballer.
Not the first one that springs to mind in my eyes, but we might unpack that when we get to that a little bit later. For me, my summary...
I'd say that obviously there's others that stand out, but just showing the clear distinction between as soon as you cross that white line, potentially your IQ drops a little bit.
Yes, football IQ is what you're referring to, isn't it?
It is.
My summary, I don't disagree with you. My summary, though, is a little bit more along the lines of we're doing everything but.
Yeah, that seems like
we're doing everything. They can't hear us if we both talk at the same time. We're doing everything but winning.
Yeah. The
stats are the proof of it. Let me run through them. The team stats first and foremost to back up what I'm saying. We won possession 52%. Our completion rate was 90%. We completed 36 of 40 sets, which is outstanding. We had more runs. We had less total running meters. However, we had we had more post-contact meters. We had more tackle breaks. Our average set distance was longer. Our play the ball speed was far quicker at 3.13 seconds. We had more than twice the offloads. What's the next one? We forced a dropout, whereas they didn't. Our tackle efficiency was over 90%. The Dolphins tackled at 84%, so we won that one as well. We made far less errors, 7-3, obviously, based on what we said with completion rates. And our penalties were basically on par. If you look at all those stats, we're doing everything but. We're completing well. We're tackling really well, at least in terms of statistically. We're not winning football games still. And it's going to come down to the attack, no doubt, but it goes back again to what we've been talking about, which is moments. And I was talking in the staff room again on Monday, exasperated again, where I said to the boys that I was talking to, of course, in the moment where Buller is given a short inside ball and he fumbles it, it goes straight into Jeremy Marshall-King's chin and then chest, and then straight into the hands of Hammer, who goes and runs 70 metres to score. I mean, of course that happens. Of course, Charlie Staines gets beaten because he slips over on a simple one-on-one and they get a try out of that. I don't think we've had anybody this year for the Tigers win those little moments. So we've spoken about moments in the last few weeks, and it's high time that something is done in that regard. You I guess, we're talking about poor moments, and I'm talking about the lack of ability to take positive moments. But yeah. Everything else is, all the ducks are in a row. Benji's got them humming in terms of the basics, which is how to tackle and how to complete. The problem is, that I've said before, is the NRL is not a robotic system. It's not a matter of getting a couple of the fundamentals right and things fall into place. You have teams like the Dolphins who are playing the way they did, which was a pretty poor game from them in many ways. It wasn't horrible, but they weren't at their best, no doubt. They're still winning football games. And ultimately, I had the thought on the weekend that, not that it's revolutionary when I say it, but the only thing that matters and the only thing that the modern teams need to focus on for the most part is that one outcome, that one KPI is wins. And I know that we're marching onto a long road, but it seems that other teams at the moment are focusing on winning football games and we're focusing on making sure that our stats are right.
Yeah, there's not much more. Like you saying everything but seems like, and this is what I said before. I feel like it's a copy and paste from the last 3 weeks, because it seems like it's been the same message from you every single week, and yet nothing seems to change. And you talk about moments, and obviously the stupidest moment of that whole game was obviously Brent Naden. Absolutely no reason. It's the last tackle. Decides to try to take the guy's head off. But you watch that moment when he gets sin binned, and Appy it just looked like Appy was like, "What am I going to do with you?" It's like, "Oh, come on!" And that's it. Like, there's players in there that you can't seem to teach, you can't seem to coach, and you know, we talk about, and you and I have talked about this at length in terms of how quickly Samuela's taken that aggression that he does have and channeled it properly in the way that a good footballer, a smart footballer does. Whereas Naden just likes to, I don't know, flip his lid. And you said this the other day, or the last pod. You said that it was the Knights game. He had a Naden game where he's had a couple of good games prior to that, and then he just has a Naden game. And you were worried that was going to hurt his confidence. And then it had nothing to do with confidence. It had everything to do with stupidity. I'm okay with, well, obviously I'm not okay, but you know, if you lose confidence, it's understandable. You do something like that, it's just like all you care about is yourself in that retrospect. It's in that perspective. It's not something that, you know, you really think about your team when you do something like that. You're like, I have aggression, I want to get it out, I don't care. And that's a stupid football.
Yeah. Their football is not playing the percentages. And that's what it is. You know, in that moment, Brent Naden has played a lot of football. And over the course of his lifetime, a shitload of football. He would have played all through the juniors. I remember hearing about his name when he was a junior star. And we're just using him as an example because he's somebody who is the quintessential dumb footballer who essentially just has those moments way too frequently. So he's played a lot of football.
Well,
And
funnily enough,
and in that moment though, you're assessing in terms of percentages. If I go in and I get this person on the ground, what is the gain? And two, is the percentage that it goes awry and I make a problem out of nothing where there was no problem for outside? It was a fifth tackle, like it was a changeover, a handover, and they ended up scoring. The Hammer ended up scoring at the back end of that time away. But all that stuff, because he's played so much football, all that stuff in terms of the percentage assessment should be happening in a split second. And the more mature, sensible footballers are able to make those decisions more often than not, far better than that. He's far from the only one, though, mate. At the moment, our squad is clogged up, and it's very easy to forget that we had an administration in place for a long period of time, and thankfully they're no longer there, and we're on the path to, through a decent head office, fixing the joint. But it's easy to forget that we are only 6 months into this new era, as it were, from top to bottom. And so the reverberations of this, or the prior administration, I should say, in terms of what they've done to the squad, are going to take 2 to 3 years to clear. And it's your Nadens and it's your Kapoas and it's these types of players who way too consistently don't have the football IQ to be able to get done what needs to get done. And it plays out more than just dumb plays like a sin bin or a penalty. It can be more in the minutiae of the game, where it's something like kick chase. It's something like deliberate and well choreographed line speed. Simply because we've spoken before about manual momentum shifting and how sometimes you'll see Appy race out of the line, or someone from anywhere race out of the line, try to put a hit on to manually try to switch momentum, either force an error or break down a backline swing or something that might be the case. That's how football IQ can manifest as well, other than just a removal of these decisions. But it's going to take time to get rid of these types of people.
But this is the thing too. I mean, when you look at them of pure talent, maybe not so much Kapoa, but Naden, you definitely say that there's a footballer there. But how can't they just, like, I was thinking about this the other day, and we signed a very similar player, not as obviously as hot-headed, but a similar player. I think he was around 2002, 2003 in Hopper. Just a stupid footballer. Aggressive, doesn't think about his actions prior to doing it. Now, obviously, don't put them in the same light because, Hopper's more of an idiot. But Naden's very similar in the fact that he acts before he thinks. Doesn't sit there and think of the consequences of anything prior to, getting sin binned or getting penalised or getting beaten hands down by a centre.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Like you think about these footballers, like they could be playing in any position, but it's the special ones that can kind of obviously have the foresight of what can happen from when they have the ball in hands from an attacking perspective. But they also have that awareness to be very conscious of their actions. Cameron Smith, probably the smartest footballer that's ever played that game. And in my eyes, probably the best player to ever play the game. You look at, I guess, his understudy in Harry Grant. Harry Grant's very similar. Can understand his consequences and doesn't push the envelope too much because he knows what will happen. But then you got on the flip side, you got someone like Naden who just goes all out and makes stupid decisions.
Yeah, he does. And like I said, it was more than just that instance. There was an instance that not many people have heard talk about, and I noticed it really live because I think we all on the weekend we're all feeling the same way. Is that this team has become professional shooter in the footerers, and Benji's thinking the same thing. He said the same thing in the press conference. But what I wanted to mention that I noticed was at one point we actually put a proper kick up for Alamalo. It was on the spot. It wasn't short. It wasn't more of a lob, so there was no time to get there. It was actually on the spot. And he had a perfect run to the line and went for the leap. And what happened? Kapoa pushed in front of him and batted the ball backwards. Alamalo was in perfect position, and Alamalo is a ball catcher. He's not a batter. And Kapoa just got in the way and competed and batted the ball backwards, and the Dolphins dived on it. I was spewing because Alamalo had the jump. In fact, he was closer to the try line, and Kapoa was in front of him and almost knocked it or denied the chance of him to take the ball, and there was a chance for him to score. It's ifs, buts, and coconuts at that point, but that's an example of what we're talking about. The constant penalties or 6 agains inside the opposition 20 or 30. Every game, it is just piggyback after piggyback after piggyback. And, this type of footy IQ can manifest in all of those ways. And we've spoken before about how it can be certain players who do it too often. But the other side of the coin is you might have people that never do it. You might point to somebody like Api Coruscant, who might have a string of games where he plays his heart out every week, but he plays cleverly, more high percentage plays. And then even he can do stuff that, through probably trying too hard, become a problem. A perfect example was on the weekend, the try that they went in under the post, Nichols. What happened there basically was that Appy shot out too quick and Fanua shot out too quick, basically meaning that the lateral coverage didn't have enough to sandwich him to ground before he got to the try line. That's basically how it was scored. And it's just those brief little moments. And the defensive structure didn't need to change there. The Charlie Staines one was a one-on-one miss. That's going to happen from time to time in football. These are elite athletes. They're good at what they do. Sometimes someone gets beaten for a try. It sucks, but it is what it is. But the Appy and Fanua thing didn't need to happen. At that moment in the game, footy IQ says keep the structure. Keep the structure. Because like anything, if you have a chink in that armour, it creates havoc. And it can create havoc 2-3 passes wide, or it can create direct havoc as it did with Nichols slicing through. So, yeah, look, we get it. We've got a dumb football side full of dumb footballers that frequently at the moment are costing us games, and it's frustrating as all buggery. I'll take us back to that earlier point that I said, which is that it's going to continue to take a little bit of time to get some of these players out of the system and out of the squad, and it will happen. But I think in that regard, people need to be patient, because I don't think that some of these guys are first choice. In fact, they're probably not for that very reason. But as soon as you get injuries that we've got and the suspensions that we've copped, rightly or wrongly, then our squad gets exposed, and we have to bring these guys in because they're next cab off the rank.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that he had the opportunity and now he's back in New South Wales Cup seems... I'm going to say that AJ Kapoa's had his time at the Tigers because he's off contract this year. I can't see him being re-signed. So there's one player we're getting off the books, which is sad because I liked what I started to see of Kapoa, but he's just gone backwards again. It seems he makes a bit of progress, like over the last, he's been with us for 3-4 years now. He seems to make a bit of progress. And then last year wasn't a lot of his fault because he was building towards being a back rower. And then they shifted him to centre, shifted him to the wing. He didn't really get to solidify a spot. But this year, he's been a shell of the player that he once was. And his development's just stalled. So it's unfortunate, but I can't see him being re-signed.
No.
But I think Naden's off next year. So let's see if we can get him off our books earlier.
Yeah, exactly right. Mate, let's turn something positive. Who did you like? Whose performances did you like on the weekend?
I thought, I don't know why, but there's been a lot of flack about Sullivan. I actually thought Sullivan was solid. I thought he had a better game last week, the week before.
Yeah.
But I thought he was solid. I thought he controlled the game well, not fantastically, but he controlled it well. Didn't overplay his hands too much. Did look a bit stifled in attack at times, but he ran the ball a lot more, which is what you want from him. So I think that he's had 2 serviceable games in a row, and that's really good from his perspective because he is still the odd man out, especially now that Dewey's come out and said that both Richo and Marshall have said he's in their future plans and he wants to play halfback, which obviously isn't going to happen. So I'll be interested to see where he plays.
Yeah, don't combine those two statements in the one sentence.
No. Sorry, I had a parentheses, and then he wants to play halfback.
Okay.
And
start a brand new paragraph. We need space on those two sentences.
brand new paragraph or page?
Yeah.
Brand new
Anyway.
book. And yeah, I thought Steph had another good game. I thought Steph, he's starting to build again. There was a comment
162 meters, Steph.
Yeah. And there was a comment made by Benji a few weeks ago because somebody brought up the performances of Steph compared to his opening month. And Benji said this is more my fault because I've asked him to play a different style. So, that was probably coaching then. Like maybe, I'm not even going to bother trying to hazard a guess of what Benji told Steph to play like, but it seems like the last 2 weeks he's been back to the Steph that we love. So
yeah, last week was okay, and then the week before last was okay, and then against the Dolphins, he was big. He seemed to have played big minutes, but he only played 49, which was the same as Clemmer. Clemmer himself ran for over 150 as well. Clemmer just keeps on ticking by.
One thing I will ask real quick while you've got your stats up. I heard on the commentary that at one point, and this was late in the game, maybe like at the 50th minute, Bullard only run for 22 meters. What did he finally run for?
Ran for 72, and I'd like to know the last time that a NRL first grade fullback ran for under 100 meters, because I don't think that would happen very often. He just was really nowhere to be found in the game, and whether that's because the game didn't come his way, which is a problem because a fullback should be chasing the game. But I think it's all part of what he's learning. Once again, it is very, 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 very easy to forget that Jareem Buller has been playing in the NRL for 1 year.
Yeah.
It's essentially his first season. He didn't debut until round 8 or 9 last year, whatever it was. So,
yeah, I think I think obviously that gap. Hopefully that gap does start to minimize, but the gap between his one of his best games and his worst games is pretty big.
Well, I don't agree with you there. I think someone like a Reece Walsh has a polar opposites, because when he's bad, he's awful, and when he is good, he is untouchable. I think Buller is like a consistent. What's that?
I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think when he's bad, he's not awful. He's just not as electric.
Nah. Okay, disagree all you want, but I'd agree with you. We'd both be wrong. But I think for me, I think that, and I don't want that. I prefer to be correct, so I'll maintain. Yeah, I think he was just really quiet. I want to mention Alan Marlow. Although Alan Marlow really warmed into the game, and he's starting to find his feet, so to speak.
Amazing.
I think, and that was defensive. He worried me because he and Olam were up and in. But it successfully shut down a couple of sweeps. But they also got half on the outside of a couple as well, and that worried me because I didn't know his turning circle. But he covered Asako brilliantly.
He did.
Asako? Who was on that side?
Yeah, I think it was Asako, yep.
Yeah.
I think it was. Yep.
Yeah, it was Asako. Yeah, he covered him brilliantly. He never got beaten for pace on the outside, even when it looked like we were two up and in. So that structurally was working well. And I saw at one point Olam was in his ear talking to him nonstop. So we're going to miss that this weekend. But I would like to think that those two can strike up a bit of a combination moving forward. And I'm interested to see what Solomon can continue to bring as he finds his feet and becomes a lot more confident in the league. He had a great game.
Yeah, and I'd pick him up for another 2 years. Like you and I both agreed that he didn't really do much to be dropped against the Knights, and if he did, we probably actually would have won that game against the Knights. Because we know who got a bath then and who replaced him on the wing. So that very well could have been a different scenario. So him back in there this week or last week against the Dolphins, he's going from strength to strength, and he's off contract this year, so I'd re-sign him for another 2 years because not only is he a great backup, but he's a potential starter. So every week.
He is. He definitely is. And with losing Junior Tupou, we could possibly do a bit of a like for like there, and maybe even someone with a little bit of a higher ceiling, albeit the fact that he turns 29 at the end of the year. So It's not like he's a overly long-term prospect, but then we do have a few juniors coming through in the outside backs, the likes of Luke Lelaliti and Navram Willett. Just to name a couple. Heath Mason's another. So, yeah, maybe he's a good option for a few years if he continues to play with confidence.
Yeah,
put the rocker on him this weekend. So.
It's quite surprising. Like, I remember him having a lot of barnstorming runs, but he only ran for 87 meters. So I guess he just had a lot of tough carries.
He did, but he also had less. He had a fair few less runs as well than than Staines. Staines had 16 runs, and Alamalo only had the 11. And yeah, he would often be first or second dropout of a tough end when Dolphins at various times were really pressing down deep in our own end. So those are hard carries. So he more than put his hand up for that, and he's strong into contact too, being a bigger bloke.
Yeah. I also kind of want to, now that I'm looking at the squad and the stats, I actually really liked Toilet Lock. I thought he did quite well. Obviously, he wasn't.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
You don't think so?
Not per se. I'll let you finish.
Oh, only just from a tighten up the middle perspective. I don't think he ran for 125 meters, but I think it was just more the fact that we looked strong in the middle, really strong. So, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say that's who my 13 is moving forward, but I would say that based off his performances prior to the last 3 weeks, he hasn't been outstanding, but he hasn't been horrible to be dropped. He just seems to be getting back to the same consistent quality.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough.
You disagree?
I just don't think that he offers enough in the middle. I like the way he played. I thought he played well. But he still does worry me around that ruck at times. He missed a couple of tackles on the weekend. And not that that's the end of the world. I just think he's very one-dimensional, and I think he is a squad player. He's a good bloke to have in and around the squad. He'll do a job for you, but I don't think with Lock being a very fundamental position in the middle that's the sort of person that we need at the moment. He filled in, he was okay there, but we certainly didn't. He didn't bring too much to the table in regards to anything ball playing wise or alike.
Fair.
Anyway. Apologies for that, folks. Just had a couple of technical difficulties with the microphone, but we're all back up and running now. No dramas. Hopefully my audio levels are a little better than they might have been earlier in the show. But, mate, we've spoken about a few of the characters. We've broken them down in terms of how they played. Let's run through the ones that we haven't covered. Charlie Staines.
I actually thought he was okay. Like, he redeemed himself after the week before.
Yeah. Look, he's definitely trying, and he's trying to play with a bit of vigour, and he's running the ball hard and all that sort of stuff. So he's making the attempts. There's still just an error or two. He just seems to be, at the core of some of our key moments, if we want to talk about moments lately. And that's frustrating. It's probably not largely his fault, but that seems to be the impression that I'm getting anyway.
Yeah, it's fair. That's a fair assessment.
Okay. Mate, we touched on Naden. I'm not going to open that up again. He needs a spell, and maybe it's a permanent spell because I think we're just about to the end of our patience tether when it comes to Brent Naden. Justin Olam, I thought Olam played really well. It was one of his stronger games since the start of the year. Personally, I think that hip drop was very unlucky. I'm happy for it to have been a penalty, but it was entirely accidental because if you watch from the rear view camera, he's got his hands over the arms of the ball carrier. I think, was it Bostock that it happened to?
I can't remember.
Okay, well, mate, it would have been Asako as well, I think.
No, I think it was Lumi.
Or who?
Lemuelu. That's it.
Lemuelu. Possibly. Whoever it was, they were quite tall. And yes, he lost his legs, but it was because he got pulled up out of the air because he had the
That's
grip
what
on.
that's what Benji said.
Yeah,
Benji
by
said,
old mate.
"Well, yeah, you can forget you can forgive Olam because he was kind of piggyback."
Yeah, exactly. And so he didn't intentionally lose his legs, and then he didn't bring his backside down onto the or his hip, as it were, back down onto the rear leg. There was some weight of his own leg came on the back, but that was incidental. So I think he was pretty unlucky, and very unlucky to get sin bin. That was not a classic. I'm happy to cop a sin bin for a classic hip drop these days, but that one was not good, and don't agree with it. But outside of that, I thought he was strong. I noticed particularly that Galvin was giving him early ball. That looks like it was a
Mm.
directive, and we
Yep,
saw what he can start to do with a bit of space. He's deceptive.
he is, and I think that we all know how strong he is. His leg drive and his power. But I think one of the things that he gets doesn't get enough credit for is the draw. I think he can draw a pass quite well.
Hmm. Yeah. We mentioned Alamalo, mate. Lachlan Galvin, I think that he's still just learning on the job. His short kicking game, both he and Bud, was very, very, very poor. The kicking
Yep.
game in general, I think, was poor. And I'll get to Bud in a sec. But as much as Lockie got swallowed up a few times on the run, he's trying, he's busy, and the more that he continues to immerse himself in the game and try things, I think that yeah, he's really doing his apprenticeship in lifetime. So I'm happy where we're at the moment. I mean, he might not be creating 2 or 3 tries a game, but he's yeah, like I said, he's doing his apprenticeship.
Yeah, and that's all you can really ask of him. I mean, he's game number 8 of his career. Was packing his lunchbox last year, so it's what you want
Mum might have
from.
been actually.
Mum might have been. He said he did. I read an interview. He said he was packing his lunch. So, um,
Young
but
half, 18 years old, tackling over 90%, running the football
ran for
plenty.
ran for 147 meters off 20 runs.
Hmm.
But I think it's been very clear that Benji just said play to your strengths, and his strength is his running game, 100%. I would love to see him start to develop a bit more of a pass, but that's going to come with time. That's going to come with time, confidence, and I guess understanding the game a little bit more.
I think what Galvin does well in terms of his ball playing is that he isn't necessarily a bullet passer or a choice passer. He doesn't pick the right option. Or he does actually often, but I think it is more a case of timing. He's a timing passer. So I think when you watch him closely, he's got a really unique sense of being able to draw and pick and work, manipulate defenders, and then get the pass timing right. I think he's got really silky touch in that regard. You watch the direction that he moves, and he'll move forward a step and then a half a step, 45 degrees to the left, and then forward 2, and then he's got a very interesting sort of chess master style running style, and so I think that in the passing department, yeah, it's coming along, but
Yeah,
that's where we're at. We're having to play the 18-year-old Bud Sullivan. I actually thought Bud was played fine. Kicking game aside, I thought he was threatening. I thought he took a few bits and pieces on. I thought he showed plenty in defence. Very happy. He tackled at nearly 94%. So I mentioned that if you remember, that his perceived deficiencies in defence have predominantly been, in my opinion, due to the defenders around him not trusting him and then systems breaking down, even though he, from what I can tell, is a relatively good defender.
Yep. Okay, I didn't know he defended it that well, but I don't think a lot. I think he got steamrolled once, maybe, but when you've got a front row running at the into you who probably, you're giving up maybe 40, 45 kilos to him, that's gonna happen. But I didn't see anything other than that. I thought he held his line well. Yeah, same thing with in attack. I think that he looked dangerous quite a few times. I think another thing with him is, again, just building those combinations. I think, and it's funny, like, prior to him getting suspended, I was becoming very critical of Caesar. I thought for what we signed him for, he wasn't delivering in any way, shape, or form in those last few games. when he first started there, he was controlled. His kicking was controlled, and that's what we wanted from him. What we signed Sullivan for was his running game and, being deceptive at the line, and he's proved that the last 2 games. So if he continues down this path, I wouldn't be surprised if Caesar's starting New South Wales Cup on the road back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the next couple of games that Bud has, because if last time he flunked his exam earlier in the year, this time he's actually been going okay. What I will have to say, though, and this is probably testament to the fact that Blind Freddie can see that our attack is a schmozzle at the moment. Their fifth tackle options are abhorrent, and they have been for a long time. And I know that it's a different side and different combinations, but they need to have some... Maybe it's back to football IQ again, but even if it's something as bomb at the end of every fifth, either kick long or bomb, and make sure everyone's chasing, even if it is that under 10 simple, then do it. Because, the fifth tackle options are poor, and I think that speaks to the fact that it was a slick Suncorp Stadium on the weekend. And some of our fifth tackle options or late set options happened to be the grubber kick for the in goal that wasn't executed. So maybe that's an execution thing. But regardless, we need to be better in that department. That's both Bud and Galvin.
Yeah, and again, you can forgive Bud you can give Galvin given how young he is, and like you said, it is his apprenticeship. But to an extent, you can kind of forgive Bud as well. To an extent, still has played in the NRL for a few years now. He was the understudy for probably at the moment one of the top 5 halfbacks in the game in Ben Hunt. So he would have learnt a lot unless he just wasn't, like you said, wasn't knuckling down and studying. But yeah, like you said, he was definitely failing his last attempt, and maybe he's about a C+ at the moment. He's passing. I'd like to see him get to more of a B+.
Yeah, so we mentioned Steph had a good game, probably one of his better games, like you said, since he had that early run of form earlier in the year, and good timing with the Blues side being named not too far away. Also tackled at 100%, made 26 tackles for 0 misses. Appy, what'd you make of Appy's game? I thought that he's just playing as he is at the moment, which is trying to do everything and trying to be the big creator and lead from the front. But as you mentioned, he's clearly frustrated. It's gotten to him.
It has. It's getting to him. And, that's not to say that he's going to walk out on the club, but you wouldn't be he's got a few players that he can trust coming in next year. So he'll stick around and he'll help us, this rebuild. But he's definitely getting frustrated with either people not listening to what the coaches have to say, or they do listen, but brain snaps happen and things like that. He's just getting frustrated. Well, he just looks like he's getting just completely frustrated with it all. But at the same time, we know when Appy's playing his best football is when he's looking for those little scoots, when he's really, troubling the markers and all of that. He had 5 runs from dummy half. I mean, if you want to, again, he's our captain, he's our leader, and he does everything he can to help us win every single week. There's no two ways about that. But if I'm Benji, I'm just sitting there saying the best way you can help us is to play your natural game. Forget about what everyone else is doing. Just play your natural game. Because that's how he's going to help us win. Because if he's troubling the defenders as much as you can go back to that game against the Sharks. Maybe because he wasn't thinking because he was too worried about spewing his guts up. But he played his natural game, and my God, we looked so good. And that's not to say that that's saying that Caesar did okay in controlling the game, and Galvin was game number 2 in the halves, but it was all because Appy was just playing to his strengths, and that's what we need from him. We don't need him to be the savior.
So, what do you want? You want him to run more? Is that what you're saying?
I want him to play to his strengths, and his strengths is deception around the markers.
Don't
Whether
think
it's
he does
running, I don't think he has the last couple of weeks at all.
I think he did on the weekend. I think it's funny too, though. If you're talking run first a little more as well, based upon trying to catch markers, and I think he still does it a bit. I am not saying that he's not doing it. What happens if that goes against the game plan? And the game plan is to get good early service out to your halves to create.
Well, that's what I said. If I was Benji, I'm not Benji. If I was Benji, that'd be
That'd be
my
your game
message
plan.
with the play natural game. But I'm not Benji.
I'm not there with you on it that he's not. You might be saying something that I'm not, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
the stats speak for itself.
I think when things aren't happening creativity wise, as they're not with the halves and in attack at the moment, I think he tries to do more, and I think we're guilty. The side is guilty of putting him in that position, but he's also a lead by example type, and often when you try too hard, as I think he's been trying to do lately, things eke out the edges and we miss tackles and we have the odd error or whatnot. And so I think that's what we're seeing with him. But, I mean, I wouldn't change him for the world. He's the first pick. He's captain courageous. I think the rest of the team owes it to him to contribute a little bit more in that regard, so he doesn't feel as though he has to throw everybody on his small shoulders.
Well, I think that I reckon that's kind of what he was thinking when Naden got sent off was, mate, it's my 200th game. Can you at least just try? So
I think he's just jack of all the effort and then dumb players like that. And I actually believe, you mentioned before walking out in the club. Of course he won't. That's West Tigers trauma. I actually think he's burying himself deeply within the walls, and I reckon he and Benji would have sat down after the game. And I reckon Benji trusts him that much. He would have said, "What do we need to do?" Not as in bereft of answers, but what are you thinking? And I dare say he would have said, Kapoa, Naden, and anybody else doing this dumb shit, shooting ourselves in the foot, they got to go. And I reckon that he and Benji are having conversations about that. And I reckon behind the scenes, he plays a big role in selections, because you knew that he was already talking to Benji last year about what he felt he needed at the club, which was a strong halfback that he can work with. And lo and behold, who do you want? Let's go Luai. Bang, let's go after Luai. And so it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to find out that he and Benji have a pretty close connection in regards to team selections and things like that. So
yeah. Well, it'd be very similar to, I guess, back towards the 2010, 2011 seasons with Farah and Sheensy and Benji in that whole conversation.
But this seems like it's organic, and it seems like it could really work. The same way that I'm sure Bellamy and Cameron Smith had a connection around that sort of stuff. Even Slater, Cronk, they became almost assistant coaches at one stage with that side. And I'm not saying that's the same situation, but it wouldn't surprise me if there is some of a similar type of relationship set up there, or even if it's a growing one, blooming one.
Yep.
Mate Clem, I thought, once again, he's just a robot, did his job. I think at one point he gave away a penalty or 6 again or something silly, but I have to double check that. But yeah, just still churning out the meters and still just doing a good job in the middle. He's a rock at the moment, and he's about one of the few players that every single week is going to go out there and tackle in the high 90% and run for well over 100 meters every single week.
Yep. Yeah, well,
I'm a massive fan of Clemmer. He's been copping a bit of commentary and flack from time to time recently and this year from certain corners of the internet and certain commentators. Tigers loving commentators, but I wouldn't change him, mate. He's one of the first pick for me at the moment because of
100%
his output. What he brings to that side, the experience, just everything. I think he's leading the way in the centre. He's not a tearaway anymore, but he's professional top to toe.
I think that's the thing too. Like, you really think about the Clemmer of 6 years ago. I wouldn't think about saying this about him, but he brings a sense of calmness, which is not something you think about when you think about Clemmer.
Yeah, and I mean, not when he's obviously extremely frustrated and yelling at Casey
it happens
Badger,
to the rest of us.
That moment aside, keep him in there. Sam Willafanu, now he went off with what it was originally cramp, and then It looked like he'd done a hamstring, but Benji in the presser said that he couldn't walk. He was cramping that bad. So, and he's selected this week. So, fortunately, it was just cramp.
I was drinking pickle juice, so
I think we missed him when he went off. And talk about players that have just played themselves into positions, making it impossible to leave out. He's one of the first on the team sheet moving forward. And testament to that fact is that tackle he made on Hamaso. That try-saving tackle, just all effort, all heart. He's just a weapon, and he's such a great prospect.
So, it's so funny how excited we were for Latu, and this guy has just shot out of the gates.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because I think Latu's got stuck. His gate didn't open, so he's going to have to worry about going back to Division 7 next week and going again, but he'll be back up there. But yeah, he's incredible. He's been an incredible buy, and what a prospect to have at the club for an extended, a long-term deal. So awesome. We had Seafarth then playing in the other second row position, obviously a bit depleted in that back row over the weekend. I thought he played relatively. What's that?
He didn't start there, but he came off the bench.
Didn't. We had AJ Kapoa come in. I thought Seafarth, when he did come on, I think he played relatively well. Yep.
Again, it's like they've understood he is a bench player because he adds a little bit of that excitement and energy back into the game.
Still not a smart footballer though. He's got a unique brand of high effort, low IQ football moments.
He's like a Martin Lang. So that's gives everything he can on the field, but don't give him too many instructions. Just say, "I want you to do this," and he will do it.
Yeah, he's playing good football at the moment. He's playing good football. He even looked strong and threatening on several carries, which was good. I thought, hey mate, if you throw an extra 3 or 4 kilos on, you might be able to bring a power game in.
Yeah.
No, he played well. Twal, you liked it. Locke, won't go into that too much. I thought he played a good game, but I just think Twal is an out-and-out one-dimensional prop. I think he looks best when he gets the ball at the advantage line and actually comes back between A and B. And because he's got surprisingly quick leg speed, Twal, and so he can pick up 10 or 12 metres almost instantly. I thought if Twally brings an offload in, he could be a lot more of a multi-dimensional threat. I think he's missing an offload at the moment. If he can bring that into his game, he has changed and evolved a little bit over time, Twal. Then I think that I'd be a lot more excited seeing his name on the sheet each week.
Yeah, I've put my thoughts on Twally, so I don't need to go on my side of that.
Jake Simpkin only just got a little bit of a cameo at the back end, just the way the game went, being so tight. I think it's hard for him to get on in those types of situations.
But he did play lock, like he said.
Yeah.
So, well, I said it first, but you just copied me and you stole it.
No, that's incorrect. But
that is very correct. That is a lie detector's out. You failed. I passed.
I mean, like I said before, I'd agree with you, mate. We would both be wrong. For Pole, I said that he contributed to one of the tries earlier, but you got itchy nose. Yeah, okay, that's
itchy nose, yeah.
Itchy nose. Oh, again. And so, but he ran for nearly 150 metres, and I thought with the ball, he actually started to use his footwork effectively. He's always looked like the footwork has been unreal, but he started to use it at the line well. At pace and started to show a little bit of what we've been looking to see out of him, which is seeing him break defensive lines partially open. So had a good game in attack.
He had 5 tackle breaks from the bench.
Which is a good effort. Again, another young man. It's very easy to forget that Pole himself. I think he's only 22.
Yeah, 22. I think he just celebrated his birthday.
Yeah, well, there you go. AJ Kapoa, I thought relatively played okay, but again, just dumb moments. I know there was the bat back that I said. I think at one point he gave away a hold down penalty for no reason.
And then he tried to, and then I think he stripped as well.
Yeah. Just typical stuff. And like we said, if we had the squad to be able to keep these guys out of the squad, I think that we would definitely be doing it, because that's one metric at the moment that I'm sure is on Benji's radar and can't come soon enough, to be honest, which is on-field stupidity.
Yeah.
Good player,
Well, that's
Kapoa. I don't mind Kapoa, particularly when he's on, but mate, this stuff it makes you unpickable. But
yeah, it does. And it's kind of like what you said sort of at the start of the year with Seyfarth, because Seyfarth was making stupid decisions. Just because you said just before, does not have a very good football IQ, making stupid decisions. But when they simplified his game plan, it just seemed to work for him. With Capoe, it's the same thing. He just does not have the football IQ to risk picking him in the lineup.
yeah. Yep, exactly right. And mate, Sione Fainu made his debut on the weekend. He played 27 minutes and tackled at 92%, and he made nearly 80 metres in 27 minutes. I thought he played really well, actually. I thought he's pretty unlucky to not keep his spot. I want to see more of him because I think that he's a very dynamic option, and I think he's very versatile. And I think he is somebody who can start to force his way into that bench position.
Yeah, and it's another instance of same with Alamalo for the Knights game. I don't really understand. I don't think he did anything to really warrant being dropped. I guess we just have a surplus of fronties these days.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we're about to talk about this week, and we might jump into that there now. Do you have any more thoughts on the Dolphins game, mate, before we start talking about the Cowboys this Friday?
No. I've again exhausted all my brain cells on that game for now.
Yeah, all three of them. All right, so we play the Cowboys up in Townsville on Friday evening at 6 p.m, and we've got quite the raft of changes between injuries and suspensions, primarily suspension. This is how we line up. Dream Buller at fullback. We've got Charlie Staines and Solomon Alamalo on the wings. Now, our centres are completely different, obviously, with Olam and Naden both suspended. We've got the train and trialist Declan Casey, who I've been a fan of giving an opportunity. I think, touch wood, but I think he will do a good job. Let's hope that's the case. And we've got Josh Folletti come in for his second game of the NRL in the other centre. We've then got Galvin and Bud stay as the halves. We've got a slight change to the forward pack, but not in the front row. Utaka Manu, Coruscant, and Clemmer, probably our most consistent trio for the year. Yep, stable. Papali returns, but at second row. Obviously, we're missing a second row option there, and I think that's due to the fact that they've cycled Seyfarth out as to why the lock experiment of Papali is over. I don't think it's dead in the water. We both liked it last week, but he is second row. Samuela Fainu, hopefully he's recovered with a bit of pickle juice in the other second row, and Justin Matamua comes in at lock, who I think was serving a longer-term suspension possibly, or may have been dealing with a niggling injury because he hadn't been playing New South Wales Cup either, but he had been a few weeks prior and was actually playing relatively well from what I saw. I'm excited to see him in there. Whether or not he starts there will be interesting to see.
There was one game that I watched of the New South Wales Cup, and I think in the first 20 minutes he set up a try and scored a try from lock.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And he's playing more physical too, which is good. So he's starting to trust his body. I think Matamua is there 21, 20, 22, 23 himself.
Yeah.
Let's have a look and see what we've got. In fact, it's his birthday this week, the 27th of May. That's not on Friday, is it? When's the 27th of May?
That is Sunday.
That'll be Monday next week.
Monday next week, yep.
Okay, so he will turn 21. He's only 20. Or is he?
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's only 20. There you go. So, anyway, I'm glad to see Justin. It'll be exciting to see what he's got in the lock position. Hopefully he starts to, same as what we've spoken about a couple of the others, starting to grow into their roles. And then the bench is essentially unchanged in many ways from what we've seen this year. We've got Simpkin, Twal, Seyfarth and Pole. Our extended squad is 18th man is Sione Fainu, as we mentioned, a bit unlucky to miss out. We've then got Alex Lobb, Talon De Silva, Tony Suka and Solomon Fa'atape round out the extended reserves list. Mate, the Cowboys, so they don't have anybody out, but they've got, who have they got? They're all in the extended. So I'm just looking to see if there's any major changes to their lineup, and I can't particularly see anybody that stands out. No, so I think their lineup as they did last week.
Yeah, last week. Yeah, because Braden Burns came in at like number 21. So
yeah, last minute, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. And so we've got Burns in there on the wing as well. So it says that Kyle Felt here is listed as in, but I can't see him on. Oh, he's on
He's
the
in the
extended
extended
bench.
reserves.
So it'd be
Number
interesting to see
21.
whether he comes in
Yeah,
as a late inclusion for Burns. Burns played all right on the weekend. He got a couple of tries.
he did against his old club.
Yeah. Okay, mate. How do you think we're going to go on the weekend? How do you beat the Cowboys first and foremost?
Limit Dearden's time. I think Dearden is a bit of a linchpin in getting good service to his outside back, so he can do anything really these days. You know, Scotty Drinkwater, if he gets that sweet ball, is just another half with more speed. Valentine Holmes, we know what he can do. But the one that gets him that ball is Dearden. So if we can limit that time, then those passes might not be as crisp. And also just watch that sweep of Drinkwater is another one as well.
Yeah, he's very quick.
Yeah.
Their edges are very dangerous, and I worry about having two brand new centres against the likes of Nanai and Drinkwater sweeping around the back, and Holmes, who, you know, is a good player and can beat people one-on-one, so it's a concern. Even Valea played well last week, Viliami. So, yeah, it's interesting. For me, yeah, you've got to shut down Drinkwater and you've got to take his time away. So just don't let him run. So in kicks, kick high, get on him early, don't give him any space, and just umbrella right in on sweeps. Make him throw Harbour Bridge balls, make him kick in behind, but yeah, just don't let him burn us on the outside because they will. He's too quick for that.
Yep.
I think that Drinkwater, when he's on, is second to Reece Walsh in terms of ability to get on the outside of somebody with speed out of that fullback.
Yeah.
Maybe the likes of Hammer when he's playing in fullback and on the money, but yeah, Drinkwater is deceptively quick, so he's a big danger. The other one then is just going to be is Nanai. I worry about him, and I worry about those short, just off the post kicks, so those half kicks to the try line, because he's an absolute weapon at it.
Just seems to be they seem to just fall perfectly in his hands every time.
Yeah, he's got a knack, doesn't he?
Yeah.
All right, mate. How do you see the game going on Friday?
Oh, mate, I'm just going to keep going with this until we win. I'm going to put all my faith in them. I'm going to say that we're going to win because their tide's got to turn. Like these moments that you're talking about, we can't keep going down the same path. Things have to change because 50% of that stuff is luck. And the luck's got to change eventually. That's not something that always goes against you, even though it does seem that way for us most of the time. So I'm going to say we're going to win because also the Cowboys haven't been playing all that well, touch wood, over the last 3 or 4 weeks. They came out hot at the start of the year, or maybe from about round 3 to about 7. They were on fire, but they've dropped off again. And yeah, I think that there is an opportunity to beat them. It is up in Townsville, but yeah, look, and a 5-day turnaround. So that's never a great one. But you know what? I feel like there's going to be a lot of soul searching this week, especially considering we just didn't perform for Appy's 20th and how much he puts his body on the line for this team. And I think we're going to come out and we're going to win. And I think it's not going to be a dominant one, but I think we're going to win. Let's 18-8.
Okay. And bold prediction?
I think I'm pretty certain he hasn't scored one yet, so I think Alan Marlowe is going to get his first try in the NRL.
Okay, that's a good one. I'm going to do my bold prediction first. I'm going to say it's going to go to Golden Point.
Oof.
And we're going to lose 22-20. They're going to get a penalty. And we're just going to be throwing our hands up in the air again.
Like, that's... Jesus, you're a masochist, you are.
I'm not wanting it to happen. I'm saying that it will happen if my bold prediction comes true. So let's hope in some ways it doesn't. I think we're going to be tighter. I think that Matamua is going to bring something in the middle and it's going to give us a little bit more time. So I think our back line sweeps. And I think some of our other plays, we're going to worry them a little bit at times. I think we're going to look a little bit more expansive, but I think overall we're going to fall short again. And I think that's just the case every week. moving forward is that every week's going to be a slog, and we're going to get a couple of wins for sure. We're going to get a few more wins. We've got a relatively soft draw for the rest of the competition in many ways. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we go there. But that's what I'm seeing happening. So that's my bold prediction is Golden Point, and unfortunately, I predict a loss. So I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, so do I.
All right, mate. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up the show for the evening?
Nah, not much this week. I'm just hoping that I can't wait to do one of these podcasts where we're just excited and let's rewatch the game because we won again, but let's also not forget the last time, not the last time, but the first time we played the Cowboys last year too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, yep. We'll keep trying to stay positive, and wins will eventually come, whether it's later in the year or whether it's in the next few years. We are a club on the up. I think that's irrefutable. But hopefully it comes sooner rather than later, eh?
Yeah, it'd be nice.
You can catch us on all your platforms, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Like, follow, subscribe, comment, send us messages, whatever you like. Give us a bit of feedback on how you think the show's going. Ask us any questions that you're interested in starting a discussion and whatnot. More often than not, we're pretty quick to reply on those as best we can. And we'll love to keep those conversations going. So thanks very much. Speaking of conversations, West Tigers podcast. They do a wonderful job, the blokes over there, the West Tigers podcast. Also run the West Tigers podcast forum, and they're associated with the Ambush too. Get on over, give them a listen on the same platforms. Tell them who sent you, the humble blokes from the Tiger Town podcast. Thanks once again to our sponsor, Best On Ground Digital, bestongrounddigital.com. They will not steer you wrong. The digital marketing agency that looks after the little guy, Best On Ground Digital. Thanks for your support, guys, over there. Mate, that's about it. So we've got to get to wrapping up the show, and hopefully we can get a win on Friday evening.
Yeah, let's look. I just want to start the weekend off with a bang. Let's do it.
Big old bang, because it's not a very fun time slot to spend the rest of your weekend in if you happen to lose the football game.
No. So
you got three or 4 days for the next side's even announced. You got to wallow in it.
Yeah.
On that happy note, with me predicting a Golden Point loss, there's nothing more to say other than go the mighty West Tigers.
Up the Tigers.